Hello people, welcome back. We're continuing to rank all the tribes of Chima based on how strong they are. We've already covered all the good and neutral tribes of season 1 in the previous episode. So if you haven't seen that, here it is, just click it. Just click it. So people, we are starting with one of the most interesting tribes of all, namely the Crocodile tribe. One of the most sophisticated and big tribes of all. They're very strong and have a wild arsenal of weapons and a plethora of vehicles spanning all branches of their military, which consists of a standard army, a navy, and the newest addition to their war machine, their air force. And fun fact, all of these branches actually have separate units, because we know that there are generals like General Crocodiles that have their own Croc units. So let's start off with their normal army. They have many reptile raids, which are surprisingly fast and have a deadly munch attack. But they sadly have an exposed cockpit which makes the driver an easy target. They also have a huge amount of claw rippers, and these vehicles are pretty good in my opinion. They can munch, act as a tank, and can rip all the vehicles apart. And on top of all that, this vehicle is amphibious, which in my opinion makes it a very good and well-rounded vehicle. But since it doesn't really have a cannon, I'm not sure how good it is. Then of course they have the royal tank. This tank is pretty good. Its arsenal consists of 2 heavy rear G cannons and a heavy claw boom, and possibly a tilt swing attack. There also is Claire's Fire Striker, which is pretty okay. It's amphibious and has 2 heavy G cannons. Now on to their land-based strategies. These seem to be more complicated than most tribes, because we see King Cromnus issuing specific battle formations, and we even know that the Crocs used inundation in tactics, because we know that General Crockenberg knew that the Crocs weren't really comfortable outside the swamp, so he inundated the battlegrounds. Then we go on to their navy, which is surprisingly bad actually, but it gets better when you consider there are so many amphibious vehicles in their army. The only boats that they really have are a few dinghies and the command center, but we know for a fact they only have 1 command center. In the Val's journey, its outer armor seems to be very good since it can take many rockets, but its inner armor seems to be very bad, because with only 1 explosive shot from a spider weapon the ship sank. It does have a few dinghies and a helicopter, which gives us a pretty good amount of firepower. Now onto their air force, which seems to be very new. It consists of 2 helicopters, this one, which is pretty maneuverable and has some pretty good weapons, and this one, which isn't too great in my opinion. So yeah, the Air Force also has jetpack / jump kit troopers, and yes, they do use these. We know that the Crocs supplied the jetpacks and battle plans for the wolves in episode 6, and we saw them using the equipment earlier. However, they don't seem to have a dedicated jetpack soldier corps yet. Then we go on to miscellaneous stuff, with the fact that they own the Pledge of the Pact, which basically gives them control over the wolves and nets them an extra 17,500 points. But they also get another 2,500 points for the fact that they have their own special medals in their swamp, so they don't have to rely on the Chilinium variants of the Lion's medals. Yes, there was a small mix-up. Chilinium is actually not the medal that the Lions have. The Lions have legochima. It's a special medal that only the Lions have. Chilinium is found all over Chima, but they still don't have to rely on that. They also have the battle plans, which also nets them these points. So the wolves are probably one of, if not the strongest of the main tribes. At least in the series they are. But in my opinion, not really. Don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of the wolves, and they are one of my favorite tribes. But I have to be real with you guys. So let's start with the army. We know that it's huge, like I'm talking humongous. So let's examine it, shall we? The most numerous vehicle that they have are obviously the pack truckers. They are the main focus of the wolf army, and they even have an extension for it in the form of a trailer. The pack tracker also has a hook that they can use to pull things like other pack trackers or even trees. The main feature of this vehicle is the Alpha Cannon, which is a pretty cool cannon, and it isn't only used for the pack truckers, but it's also used for the wolf flag cannons, which is pretty cool, not gonna lie. Then we have their motors. These are pretty powerful. They have a very big twin cannons on their side that seem to be very big compared to the size of the motor itself, which I assume means that they're pretty powerful actually. But sadly we only see a few of them in the show, so they seem to be rather rare. They also have the big wolf Leia, which is pretty cool and much bigger than I thought. I mean, this thing is the size of a very long house, and it also has an extra part included, which is, apart from pretty ugly, a truck with a big explosive cannon mounted on top of it. This layer also includes the main truck and the side build, which in the show is much larger and houses the mullet too, and seems to act as the war room of the wolves, where they discuss their most important and secret things. The front truck of the layer also includes 2 claw bikes, who are pretty fast but don't really have anything going for them, and are quite a rare sight. Then we have the second most numerous vehicle in the wolf army, which is a ton of spears. which they used in battle very commonly, which to me is a bad thing. Then we have the aviation part of the Wolf Army, and well, to be honest, this kind of is the laughingstock of the Wolf Army, while strangely also being one of the most impressive things the Wolves have made, and I'm basing this off the reaction of other tribes. So yeah, the only real thing in this department is the helicopter, which actually is really good, with 2 explosive cannons that absolutely shred 3 Eagle jets. So this tribe is pretty interesting, and they're one of my favorite tribes, but the thing is, they're just not really that strong. They do have a lot of money in their big vaults, but they're just too easily corrupted and blackmailed. They do have a few Raven raiders and Chi raiders, but it's just not enough. They are rich however, and technically can steal and gather as much intelligence as they want, so that is why they still get 15,000 points. Now we are at the Crocodiles, a pretty strong tribe, except no, because they're garbage. This is for a few reasons, but let's take this as an example. Their collaboration is so bad. We've seen them fighting with each other multiple times. So yeah, the Scorpions, these little pests, are just plain bad. And even though they have Stompers, these are the big scorpions like Scudder, they still are one of the worst big tribes in the world, Chima. They have no vehicles, except some scorpion stingers, which, fun fact, can switch between poison bolts and explosive bolts. They of course also have the Speedos, but even though they have this makes them have a laughably bad army. They also have no air force whatsoever. The only saving grace they have is their sting, which makes them able to mind control their enemies and let them do their bidding, with which they bodied the Legend Beast, who at the time didn't have armor protecting them from it yet. Sorry if I didn't make this video as long as you guys wanted, but yeah, I don't have enough time at the moment, so I will make a part 3 in the future, but just not now. So yeah, that was the video, so I wish you guys an amazing day and goodbye.